Hey guys, welcome to my first video. I'm just going to be walking through my warband that I'm going to be starting up and doing videos for This Is Not a Test. It's going to talk about the theme that I'm going through with them and the models that I'm going to use and probably the shoddy conversions that I'm going to try and do on them for some of their starting equipment and some of the equipment that they might get when I get a little bit more advanced with them. So first up, we're going to be looking at the leader. So because I'm doing preservers, it's going to be the Lord Reclaimer. For him, I'm going to be using a Aquiliguard model. I thought he was pretty funky because basically he's using power armor. For choices I gave him a plasma rifle and a masterworked heavy weapon, so that he's decent at smacking people in close combat. And the plasma rifle basically because he's got a pretty good ballistic and skill attack to start with. So I figure there's no point in giving him a laser rifle that helps you hit if you've got a poor ranged when he's got a pretty good one. So when he hits, I kind of want him to hit. Along with upgrades to plasma, when you get a crit, does more strength damage. Going to use him to try and take out the other sort of dangerous mobs in opposing wargames. Thought he was a pretty good model as far as dynamics goes and stature. He's pretty big, he's pretty imposing, he's got a cool trench coat, he's got good power armor. I didn't glue the little aerials on that they got on his head because I didn't want him looking sort of too sci-fi sort of thing. And for the heavy weapon, I was thinking of trying to put some sort of hammer into his hand there. Don't know quite how it's going to go because it's pretty small and he's just holding it like that, so there's not a lot of space in the middle of it. I was thinking like a Space Marine Thunder Hammer, but that's going to look pretty ludicrous if I just try and put that in there. So I'll have to have a look and see what else I can do for him. The next one in the crew is the Tanker, which is out of the Kickstarter Wasteland expansion. That was part of the Kickstarter. Using the Tractor Moles as well. These cool little dudes. Because I armed him with a LMG and a machine pistol, so that when he jams, which will be numerous and was numerous in my last game, you can kind of switch to another weapon that's a little bit shorter range, but possibly going to jam a little bit less. It's at least got less reliability. So they usually come with little nodules there, and then on models they've usually got like the missile launcher things. Because he's not armed with missile launchers, a little bit unsure as to what I'm going to do to try and model the LMGs to try and keep it in sync with Infinity, because most of the bits I've got are G-Dub bits which are fairly oversized in comparison to sort of the Infinity stature of it. So at the moment I'm using that one as a sort of machine pistol, and using that one as the LMG on that side. I've only got a couple of Infinity bits out of Spec Ops models because they don't really give out a lot of bits. I'll try and see what I can do with the HMG to make it look a little bit better because it's a pretty dodge. But as a whole, that's what I'm going to be using for the Tanker. I figured it's good because the Tanker comes with Trekker, and it's described as being sort of fairly well armoured. It'd be a decent model for it, and it's something a little bit different. It's not walking robot or bipedal sort of thing. It'd be pretty cool. The next one I got is just a regular Reclaimer in power armor. I gave her a big bore assault rifle to take it to strength 8, just to give her a bit of a heavy hitting weapon without it being a relic, because I was running on my max relic limit, and a bayonet. Gave her pre-fall ammo as well, just to help out the ranged. So she is a Orc Troops with a HMG. Again, didn't put the little antenna things on the helmet, just because they're a little bit too sci-fi. I wanted to give it as a little bit lower tech than that. I think the HMG works well that she's armed with to sort of simulate a big bore assault rifle, because it's a bit fancier and it's a bit bigger, so it should be a bit bigger on the model. next one. The other sort of 3 rank and file I've got is Seekers. I've got 2 with assault rifles and bayonets. They're pretty simple. They're just grunts. Nothing sort of too fancy about it. See what happens with them. See how long it takes for them to die. I've got a Foxtrot with a shotgun as another Seeker with a shotgun, who did well the last game to spend the entire 8 turns shooting at one person before actually killing them into the end of the game, but took them whole game to do it. I'm using one other grunt that I got as a Savant with a laser rifle, because their range isn't that great, so the laser rifle helps them to try and hit the target with the 2 rolls, and because I can't give a laser rifle to any rank and file, who else am I going to give it to? Give it to them. She's got clever as well, so it helps with malfunction proning on the laser rifle as well. That was what I started the Warband with originally. I did a game last weekend against a mate, against his preservers as well. I did pretty well. I ended up wiping most of his models, and he had about 12. And I had 7, so I was pretty happy with that. We started off fairly high, basically because we had an original campaign that had a different warband in that I ditched and started this one. So this one started out at about 720, so it was fairly pricey. It had a bunch of power armor, a bunch of relics. The new tanker is fairly expensive, but it's good. And then taking the grunt sort of thing. After that game and earning some money, figured the next things I'm going to try and do are get a Helobot as another model in the game. I'm going to use, probably badly, the Oxbot that's attached to that as a Helobot. I figured he can drive around the battlefield and try and heal people up. I've bought him a masterworked light weapon, so I figured if he's healing people, he's going to have some syringes and some scalpels and stuff, so you can use those to stab people with. And a machine pistol, just for a ranged weapon, just in case. He's got a range of 3, so I don't think he's actually going to be hitting anyone at any point. But I figured, it might not be a ballistic weapon, but it might be an automatic needle dispenser that he can use to shoot people with, and try and kill them from that. And the other model that I was going to buy with the expansion was a excavator for some more close combat shenanigans. For that, I was going to use a Ariadna Spec Ops model that I did a little bit of conversion with on my first Warband, just because they're so low tech, it's so good. It gave him just a knife off a Space Marine because it fits sort of well as either a large knife or a small sword, so it works well as a light weapon. Busted him out of shield and gave him mesh armor, just so he's got 1 range bonus for armor, the light weapon and a combat shield to help in melee. And he's probably going to be running around possibly with the boss to help him in melee, smacking people, or just running around trying to smack other light people, because the shield works pretty well in defense. With those 2 guys, the Helobot and the Excavator, that took it up to 803 for the Warband cost, so it's fairly pricey at the moment. But yeah, those are the guys I'm going to be using for my Warband. I'm going to be trying to paint them up as a sort of a US Army contingent that was stationed at a US Army base before the war. Then the war happened and they all ended up staying there, and now they're venturing out from that army base to try and find more supplies and take stock of what's happening around them. So most of the dudes are going to be sort of US Army camouflage. The Excavator, seeing as he's starting off as ragtag, so he can only have 15 BS worth of equipment, I'm going to play him as sort of someone that they found who's semi-useful and not a mutant, so they've sort of recruited him into the Warband for being useful for digging stuff up and showing them around. So yeah, they're going to get sort of the green, olive drab look. I'm going to try doing some rust and grime and stuff on the tanker more specifically, just because it's got a bigger area with the tracks and the hull, to try and do some rust and stuff like that on, getting worn out. I'll try and do it on the Lord Reclaimer a bit as well, sort of on the armour, more probably on the legs than up there sort of thing. But I'll give it a go. It'll probably end up bad, but if it ends up too dirty and grimy, then it'll just fit in with the wasteland. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions about what else I armed anyone with, or if you would arm anyone differently, leave it below. Leave a comment below. And love to have a chat with you. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll hopefully talk to you soon when I can get some paint on the models. Cheers.